There are three basic things that I want to talk about. Why this is so important, what are we doing, and what are the opportunities. So why is this so important? I know I am stating the obvious to people in this room, but clearly providing culturally appropriate housing is critical to closing the gap. We all know the statistics, and in fact the prospectus outlines that 41% of people sleeping rough on the by name list are Aboriginal people, and that many of our social housing tenants are Aboriginal people. But there's another part to it which I see both as the member for Perth and as the Minister for Housing. And it's unfortunately something that we don't like to address. That is also an inherent racism against those people accessing those services. I know it. I hear it from some of my local residents who would prefer the problem goes away, disappears. They just don't want to see it. Now that is a solution or view by some in our society. But we obviously have an alternative, and that is to work hard to build Indigenous leadership, to understand that the best solutions are where we empower Aboriginal leaders to go forth, to build community housing organisations, to provide culturally appropriate accommodation, that we can provide sustainable long-term solutions. And that's why today is so important, because we do have 4 leaders here who are breaking ground, so to speak, who deserve to have their capacity to be built and to be grown. And so what are we doing? Well, there's so many things that are being done right at this moment. Under our government, we announced an ACHO strategy, which is a broader approach about how we empower and build capacity of Aboriginal controlled organisations to run services. And we've seen that perhaps so well recently at Bulu Bidi Maya, where we have seen an Aboriginal controlled organisations run the first of its kind transitional homelessness services in our city. And despite criticism, because there were some that said it needed to be filled overnight with 100 people, it has slowly taken time, but there is no doubt in my mind it is an outstanding success and a clear demonstration of why Aboriginal controlled organisations should be empowered within this space. We are also doing, of course, we've released a discussion paper about an ACHO strategy, which is an Aboriginal controlled housing strategy. And our government has provided $150,000 to Shelter WA to help do that. And that is ultimately about trying to grow more in this space. And of course, we have the prospectus today, delivered by Clint and the team at Shelter WA, in partnership with these 4 key leaders, so that we can go out to the broader sector and ask for their support. And what are the opportunities? Well, and sorry for a bit of the spruik, but we are investing $2.4 billion in social housing and homelessness programs over 4 years. And there are real opportunities into the future. We've already released $150 million to community housing organisations, understanding that the community housing sector is best placed to leverage and access funds that the state can't do. But there is also opportunities with the new $350 million Remote Communities Housing Fund. I really believe that we can work, and I understand, speaking to Clint, that there's up to 30 potential Aboriginal controlled organisations, some in that remote community space that could grow and develop. So I'm actually hopeful about the future of Aboriginal community housing organisations. I think this prospectus, our draft strategy and discussion paper, all that work that is being done actually does give us incredible hope for the future. So again, I just want to shout out to the four leading organisations here today, but also to Shelter WA to stepping up. Shelter WA, despite keeping me on my toes in a very difficult housing space and market that we face, they do an extraordinary job in advocacy and leadership. And so it's with that, it's my deep pleasure to help launch the partnership today. Thank you.